Good afternoon and welcome to the November 16 Arts and Culture Commission meeting. I think we're still at exciting times. Yes, Chuck? We have roll call, please.
Commissioners Derhovanesian.
Here.
Sahakian.
Here.
Sharikian.
Here.
Vidor.
Here.
Chairperson Oshigan.
Yes.
The agenda for the November 16th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on November 13th, 2017. Item 2, consent items at 2A, approval of special meeting minutes from October 18th, 2017.
I'll move approval.
I second it.
Commissioners Derhovanesian.
Yes.
Sahakian.
Yes.
Sharikian.
Stay.
Vidor.
Yes.
Chairperson Oshigan.
Yes.
Item 2B, approval of regular meeting minutes from October 19th, 2017.
I move, excuse me. I move to approve unless there are edits.
Any comments or questions about the minutes? No?
I'll second.
Do we have a second? Thank you.
Commissioners Derhovanesian.
Yes.
Sahakian.
Yes.
Sharikian.
Stay.
Vidor.
Yes.
Chairperson Oshigan.
Yes.
Item 3, introductions and presentations. At 3A, Library Arts and Culture events presented by Chuck White, Community Relations Manager.
Good afternoon, Chair Oshigan, Commissioners, staff. I have a number of events to tell you about at the Library Arts and Culture Department. This Saturday, we will have a film screening kind of in conjunction with the Friends of the Library and the Museum of Neon Art. This is a 6-month series, and we're almost finished. There'll be one more film in December, but on Saturday, November 18th at the Downtown Central Library, we will present Pickup on South Street, a Richard Widmark, Thelma Ritter jewel of a noir film. Later in the month, Mindy Johnson is an educator, and she's written a book about the women of Walt Disney's animation. So these are the ink and paint staff that were all primarily women. It's a lovely book. It's a massive coffee table book. She's going to talk about those women on November 29th, again at the Downtown Central Library. We're really excited for a new show at Brand Library and Art Galleries, 1 year, The Art of Politics in Los Angeles. This Saturday, November 18th, we will have the opening reception at 6 o'clock. I can tell you that 1 year, The Art of Politics in Los Angeles was conceived and organized by Joey Forsyth, Lawrence Geip, and Alex Kritzelis, and it features the work of 20 Los Angeles-based artists who engage with political topics as an integral part of their practices. The exhibition presents a multiplicity of voices, constructing a narrative from a wide range of disciplines, including video, painting, drawing, fiber arts, ceramics, mixed media, and photography. And this particular show has a number of great ancillary programs. There's one that they're calling Band Together, a family voting workshop. That's on December 2nd, where families can come in and create their own political campaign buttons. Whatever campaign you want to campaign for, you can create it that day. It's Saturday, December 2nd in the morning at Brand Library. There's a film screening, ANPO Art X War, and that's on Sunday, December 17th. There's an artist talk to each other. So that'll be kind of a different take on that, where the artists, again, the 20 artists, or as many as will show up, are going to sit at a round table and discuss their practices and politics in respect to art. At the Downtown Central Library, our Reflect space will begin a new series. On Friday, December 8th, we'll have the opening of a program dedicated to the Holocaust.
And if I could I add now? Yeah? Very quickly? Yeah. So, yeah, we're very excited that we are collaborating with the Los Angeles Museum of the Holocaust on this exhibition about the Holocaust. And they're bringing very rare artifacts, armbands and prisoner identification, pieces of cloth, as well as ID cards, as well as some really, really interesting artwork that was made during the Holocaust. And we're augmenting that with two artists who have made work after the Holocaust, reflecting back, and always, as always, with Reflect Space, looking through the personal narrative, the witness's narrative, or the witness of the second generation, third generation narrative. So we're still working on putting the whole thing together, but we'll welcome you to come by on December 8th, Friday.
Very good. And that program will run through January?
January 16th, yes.
16th, very good. 222 East. We brought this to you last year. It's a program of performances at the Downtown Central Library. We had a number of them beginning in June, ending in August. We're going to try something else out. In December, we're going to go to the Paseo, which is right where MONA, the Museum of Neon Art, is located. We're going to put, the first group up at 11 o'clock will be Unison Duet. Really a great group, flute and harp. It's 11. We'll have Mike the Poet. He's going to come back, and he may be there for as many of these as we can muster through 2018. But he's going to kind of be there at 1 o'clock to fill in the gaps while the bands are changing. And then at 2 p.m., there'll be another repeat band, Manji and the Tips. Really nice, smooth jazz, light rock, easy listening. So that's going to be part of the program. We also have asked the Friends of the Library to run their Saturday morning bookstore out there in the Paseo, which is also relatively close to their actual backdoor bookstore. So we'll be able to draw people back and forth. There's also an author festival sponsored by the Friends from 11 to 4 in the auditorium. So there's quite a bit of activity going on December 9th. Infinite Clarence. This is these great signs put together by Scott Froschauer, who I hope to bring back here at the December meeting. This is one of his signs that was up at Burning Man, so you can see some of the structures in the back. So if you were there, Scott opened this installation. It's part of the AHA program, Art Happens Anywhere. They're kind of positive affirmations on regular looking and regularly built street signs, stop signs, yield signs, and so forth. So he's got start. Here's one picture from that, the unveiling of the installation. This is right behind the Downtown Central Library. The members there, besides yourselves, the Arts and Culture Commission, the two gentlemen on the left and woman standing next to Cindy are from the Parks Commission. So they were there with Scott. So pull the thing off, breathe. This is up in Duke-Majan Park, and that's where he's got his Infinite Clarence sign. People are taking selfies. This is Grant Michaels, Parks Commissioner, who took a selfie up there with that sign. This is, again, that same breathe sign behind the Downtown Central Library. We've had some good publicity, the LA Times, ABC Channel 7, a variety of art magazines and websites, KFI AM 640 radio, even Yelp, Instagram, and YouTube. There are 20 signs, and there seem to be a lot of people interested in these, not just the public, I get calls, but also the media. The hashtag up there, WOTS, Word on the Street, that's the name of all the installations. That's what we're using. There is a map. It is on the website. I think I gave you a copy of it, but it's interactive. You can hit a button. It's a Google map. Hit a button and see a picture of the sign and kind of find your way there. And there's Scott Froschauer himself. very proud. He's real happy. He gave a good talk at the Downtown Central Library about his art, and I asked him if doing work for a government entity ruins his, artistic vision. And he said, no, it actually just makes it so much easier to do the work. He doesn't have to do it on the sly. He doesn't have to put one of these signs up in the middle of a street and see it go down in 3 hours when some city takes it down. We didn't, of course, we looked at all the signs and all the affirmations that he's using, but it's his art. It's still his vision. It's still his words, and kind of the dynamic message that he's trying to portray is all his. But he's able to do it in a government setting, and I think he's very happy. I think you'll get a kick out of meeting him next month.
Sorry, Chuck, could you go back one slide?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some spots there that look like they're outside Glendale. Is this like an overall map of his work in general?
It's just the way the map looks. I know it says Rose Bowl Stadium, but the Rose Bowl's to the right of that.
Right, yeah.
That's actually up at the
There's a park on
Shoal Canyon
yes.
area.
I live
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I've seen
So no,
Okay,
these are definitely all in the city of Glendale. Every one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries there. We are not breaking any rules.
Well, no, I mean, if you had signs, we could put it on the map if you had other signs, other parts of the city. I have no issue with that, but
Right.
we wouldn't want to be paying for him doing signs outside the city, right?
Indeed. No, these are all
Yeah.
blended. These are all our standards.
Okay.
So, with that, that's my library report. If you have any questions, please give us a call or talk to me.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Next agenda item?
Item 4, oral communications. There is none.
We have none. Okay.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A1, discussion item. Art galleries in Glendale, GTV6 video to Fenkian Galleries.
I'll give you a very brief report, and then we'll watch the GTV6 video. On the Move is a monthly show on Glendale's award-winning government access cable channel GTV6 that highlights the goings-on in the Glendale community. And the November show featured a segment called Art Galleries in Glendale.
The city of Glendale is a diverse community that values arts and culture, and there is no better place to experience art than in one of the many galleries around town. Tufenkian Fine Arts is a 4,500 square foot space that connects audiences with museum-level exhibitions, talks, and writings from both local and international artists. Tufenkian is more than a typical gallery, though. The building's second-floor project space offers room for dynamic expression from artists who craft across mediums. The Brand Library and Arts Center hosts dozens of high-profile artists and exhibits each year, including the annual Works on Paper. The center also hosts a variety of music and dance events, including classes, artist talks, and performances. Always evolving, Brand Library develops innovative programs to serve the ever-widening public interest in the arts. Located in the newly imagined Central Library, Reflect Space is designed to explore and reflect on major human atrocities, genocides, and civil rights violations. Its exhibitions are both experiential and informative, employing art, technology, and interactive media to reflect on the past and present of Glendale's communal fabric. Forest Lawn Glendale has been a California landmark for over a century. Founded in 1906, the picturesque location features a series of permanent and rotating exhibits, an extraordinary statuary, and two of the largest religious paintings in the Western Hemisphere, Jan Steica's Crucifixion and Robert Clark's Resurrection. ACE 121 is an affordable housing project in partnership with the city that features an art gallery and creative space. This colony of artists sees their work as a reflection of the larger community. Their various exhibits embrace a full spectrum of art forms, styles, and subject matters that mirror the diversity of the Glendale community. These are but a few of the many cultural spaces Glendale has to offer, and with all this space to imagine, create, and experience, it's no wonder that Glendale is the cultural jewel of Southern California.
I have a question.
Very nice, yes.
Well, that's really nice. I was curious about, those definitely are the great galleries and the ones we all know about, and it's so exciting that there are new ones like Caroline's Gallery as well as Reflect Space. And is there a comprehensive list that includes all the public and private galleries around that? I mean, not that they should all necessarily be mentioned in the video, that might take a while, but it would be interesting to kind of have an inventory of that just to see what's around. I went to a place called, and I think I found out about it from you, the Pit. Mm-hmm. They opened a show, I think, a couple weeks ago, and, it's hard to say. Galleries come and go, but they seem pretty promising. I don't know. Do you know anything about that particular space?
Yeah, no, I would say the Pit is one of the leading galleries in the city, actually. Now, it's right on the border of the city, but they've had multiple Later Times reviews of their exhibitions. So they would definitely be something that a gallery that probably should be in this list of things. But there are also smaller galleries too, and so having a comprehensive list would be probably pretty useful in general.
Could I say something? Well, definitely we need to have a list because when you do such a wonderful job. But before getting to that, whose idea was this? This is a new thing that GTV6 would be getting involved with this, which is a very important decision, I think. How was it? Was it from the department or?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I mean, we've really seen an increase in the amount of cultural activity in the city, in part due to all of your initiatives. And then with the opening of the Reflect Space, as well as the Tufenkian Gallery being monumental openings as far as I'm concerned, I think that inspired GTV6 to do a piece on it.
And is it going to be continued, kind of reporting every now and then? Because then an inventory of what we have in the city, new shows and events coming up, it's a very kind of live way that GTV6 could help to promote what happens in Glendale.
Most definitely.
So they are going to continue that.
Well, they choose topics every month, I think it is, for their series of informational items, and so I don't see why not. We will definitely present that idea to them.
So they would be in collaboration with your department
Yeah.
to make sure that all the events that goes on with an inventory and having in mind what goes on to present us. It really helps. Visuals really do help. So, and I like to see that on GTV6 going on. It's a phenomenal idea. Thank you for whoever has pushed it.
Well, I thought of one more that they might want to put in it sometime, since we've kind of committed to it, is an art space. The Adams Square gas station might be an interesting one.
They have done
You're
some,
right. It's part
some
of what we
taping.
have on exhibit.
They've done some taping at the gas station in the past.
Any other comments?
Fantastic.
Questions?
Thank you.
Is this something we can probably make a general comments about this specific video?
Sure, go ahead.
I think the idea is great. We needed something like this probably a long time ago. Talk about the art program in the city, and specifically our programs, not only just the galleries, and whereas we need a presentation by the GTV6 TV, probably every other week or monthly basis, a series of similar program, the life of art in the city of Glendale, for example. That might be a very good series, and this is a good start. I think this is a great start to bump our program into a vision, into a TV series. They can have commissioners on the show, artists, everybody. I mean, anything that can fulfill that whole vision. I think that's a good start, and we can utilize that in YouTube or in other social media too, of course. Thank you.
And it could be archived and kept as a history of what happens in the city of Glendale.
Remember a few meetings ago, I said maybe we should prepare something documentary about our program. So this is something, it can help to assist that program. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments?
No, it's just great.
No? Okay, next agenda item.
Item 5B, Public Art Master Plan Progress Report.
This, again, is a discussion item. As you may recall, a pop-up public workshop was held on October 18th at the Adult Recreation Center. During this free interactive event, Glendale residents had the opportunity to learn how public art can improve the quality of life throughout the city. The workshop also allowed participants to share their ideas about the future of public art in Glendale. And we have a representative from CARS, Goldstein.
City staff and commissioners, thank you for calling us back and allowing us to report today. We saw many of you last month, and you asked us to come back today so that we could drill down a little bit about our October 18th meeting. So we do have a presentation when Chuck is giving me the sign where he's getting it up. So let me just tell you about what we've been doing lately. We continue to publicize the good work about the plan. I happened to be working at home this morning, and I never really like to open my utility bill, but I did it anyway, and I was happy to see the nice little slip that says exactly that, make art public. And I know that my colleague Regina Alcazar has been working with the city to get 80,000 plus of those distributed to every resident in Glendale who happens to have a water and power bill. So that's been great. Another wonderful thing is we are starting to launch our signage campaign. And the large sign that is up now over Verdugo across from Glendale City College is there. You'll see the English translation as you go north, and you'll see the Armenian translation as you go south. We're working out the fine details about fun things like insurance before we're allowed to put up the rest of the signs, and we're just about there. So you'll see them launched all over the city. That's a text-in campaign where people will be able to engage with the Co-Urbanize website and log on and send their ideas about public art. Also this month, I was up at Montrose, and we presented to the board of the Montrose Shopping Association, which was really important to get geographically up to the north of the city. We have been, talking to people and seeing the vast engagement on the website itself, which has been really, really fun. We're also working with the city, the library in particular, of course, about our next community meeting, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Looks like this is ready to go. So on October 18th, many of you were there, we launched a really nice community meeting at the ARC at 6 o'clock, and we invited a lot of the nonprofit arts organizations. Here's Arno from Roslyn Art Gallery, engaging with a woman I know who is a photographer on our advisory board. And we had several of the nonprofits there. In addition to some food, you can go, oh, am I doing this? Sorry. And then after the food was served and after we had the face-to-face that had the arts commissioners, we gave the opportunity to have face-to-face with the public. We broke out into a general meeting room, and Barbara presented a video, or rather a slideshow about public art in general, and specifically public art in the city of Glendale. Then we had the breakout sessions, and you can see Ara, you had probably the largest group. We had about 100 attendees, which we were very happy with. We had a nice, diverse audience, large age range, ethnic communities represented. And here Ara is talking about temporary public art, which was very appropriate for him to be leading this discussion. These are some of the elements of the different breakout sessions. So you can see we had the future of temporary public art that was led by Ara, as I just said. And then Barbara Goldstein, our lead consultant, was working on the workshop called Welcome to Glendale, Enhancing Glendale's Gateways. The third was led by our president of Community Arts Resources, Erin Paley. What could a Glendale Arts Festival look like? And then the fourth was Jennifer McLean from Economic Development led us on a nice walking tour of the Downtown Arts and Entertainment District. So we broke into groups. We had an average of 20 to 30 or so per group. And this is the highlights of what came out from the temporary public art discussion with Ara's group. Most of the comments suggested that they would like to see public art, temporary public art specifically, in schools and parks, at vacant storefronts, and more opportunities for local Glendale artists. And because this is temporary art, they want to focus on something that is a little bit more risky and something that's playful and experimental, because we all know if it's temporary and it's really out there and you're not really fond of it, it's going to go away. And then you have the opportunity for something better. For the gateway art that Barbara led, these are some of the highlights, again, from the discussions. You can see that the freeway overpasses are talked about often in Glendale because those, whether we like it or not, are our borders. So people said this is a really great time that we could have a unified look, freeway entrances east or west. To have the gateway art is people's first experience in Glendale when they come to see the city, so it's an opportunity to showcase the city. And then we talked about gateway art, and these are some of the locations that came up, as you can see. Glen Oaks and Alameda, Brandon, San Fernando, and Los Feliz and San Fernando on the south, and Colorado on the east side of the city, and then throughout the freeways. The Arts Festival that Aaron led had an engaged discussion as well. These are the things that came up again as highlights. This is an opportunity to make Glendale a destination, to have a really, really unique arts festival. This is also an opportunity to talk about what is Glendale's unique identity and how should this be showcased through an arts festival. Many cities do have arts festivals. How are we going to showcase what is unique about the city? A lot of people said they really enjoy the walkability of an arts festival and to have it be accessible to all. And they wanted it to be new and exciting, unlike other events. So, you've probably been to arts festivals in many other cities. So whether it's something new and engaging or is something that we haven't produced before at all in the city came up. And lastly, I actually went on the walking tour with Jennifer, which was really interesting because we had a very engaged group and took a lot of notes because very specific ideas came up. People were throwing out names of artists very specifically, and people, we noted those as well. People had questions about the art that is posed along Brand, which is enacted by the Downtown Glendale Association, and economic development, and how does that interface with what will come from the Urban Arts Fund? And so these were good questions that were addressed and highlighted, saying, okay, this is something to note. Also, the Arts and Entertainment District, of course, is not defined right now, so we need wayfinding signs and or incredible art that will tie it all together, where you're talking on the pavement or through a light landscape, or whether or not it's public art, that people will know that this is the corridor, this is the Arts and Entertainment District. Lastly, we went over to the Maryland Paseo, and it had so much opportunity there that there were lots and lots of great suggestions. Obviously, there's some challenges there until things kind of move along. But there's a lot of vacant wall space, and I think the adjective beige came up a lot in our group. And so people really want to see some color, some activation. And even on the south side of the library, some people were saying, wow, this is right where the Paseo is. I didn't even know I could enter the library this way. So we have lots of great comments, but most importantly, what happened from that evening was we found out there are a lot of stakeholders in this community. They want to really look into working with all of you as the plan gets delivered and hopefully enacted and off a shelf and engaged. And it was so popular, a lot of people stayed afterwards and they wanted to say, okay, now what do we do? Well, now Barbara Goldstein is physically writing the draft plan. So we decided that let's do one more meeting. It's not in our scope, but it's to our best interest to continue the engagement with the public. So we're working with the city to define what that date will be, but we're looking at the end of January. We're also continuing our outreach, and some of that outreach, we want to focus on that next date. We'll do another public meeting in the same space. Barbara will present the draft plan so the public can really understand what it's going to be. And right now we're working on the cut down of we had done a 4-minute public service announcement on the YouTube that we did with Barbara. So we're working with Glendale TV to have that translated into Armenian. That's going to be a 30-second spot Once we have that date to publicize January, we want to really go out and leverage that date to say there's a few call to actions. One, again, log on to the website, make your voice heard, and also come to the next public meeting. So that's about it. Any questions?
No, just a comment. I saw Barbara's presentation on GTV6. It was very impressive.
Thank you.
I had many calls coming in, and people were saying that we didn't know that city is so serious about doing something so well-researched and kind of well-programmed. And that was very impressive that people started to feel that our department and the commission is very serious, meaning the city. Of course, they don't understand the details of how this works, but they were very happy with the fact that city has engaged an organization to plan and to procedurize, and her presentation was phenomenal.
Thank you.
It was very well done.
We worked hard on that. We scripted it. We worked with Brian Halloran, who was just wonderful. Regina, my colleague, and I got a lot of the materials along with Barbara so that we could really showcase and really take the time to let people know they can learn about what public art is, because a lot of people really don't know. So it was a really great, we have circulated it many times, and I think it continues to be kind of the mainstay. When they really want to know what the project is, watch this and you'll learn. And it really says everything in 4 minutes, so I appreciate your comments.
And one more thing, I like the idea that you have it in English and in Armenian, but I would like if you could include Spanish as well.
Agreed.
Because there's a large community here that they need to be part of it.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Anything else? All right.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I'll make a comment about my participation in this. I think that it's okay. We can comment.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's move along.
All right. Thank you very much.
Wait,
I think we
aren't you going to say?
Okay,
Oh, go ahead, please.
All right.
Oh, everybody takes turns.
Okay.
We have plenty of time.
All right. I think that you mentioned the beige issue and the blandness and some of the things we discussed when we were walking around, and I think that really emphasized to all of us why it's really important for us to get public works involved in this process and to have some kind of a city-wide study session with other departments, because it was really obvious to everybody that there are certain things about just the public aspect of our built environment that would need to be artified, for lack of a better word, in order for public art to really flourish in the center of the city.
Agreed. And I know that you will see some recommendations specifically from Barbara about how representatives from the commission will be interfacing with other city departments and vice versa. So I agree. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Did you have something to say,
Sure.
Sean? Please.
It's fun to talk about.
So I'm really glad we were able to make the Glendale Water Power Bill
Thank you.
promotion happen, because I think that's one way we can reach
Everybody.
a lot of our residents. I wanted to ask, so we have another action item next about a public meeting. Are we talking about the same meetings?
No.
We're talking about two separate meetings. Okay.
You guys are going to be busy. Yeah.
So while you're here, we had a great turnout. We had 100 attendees. How long was the promotion process for that meeting to get that?
We took out Facebook ads, and I believe we had 11,000 unique visitors on Facebook. To be honest, we did a press release. Tom Lorenz wrote the press release. We circulated that. I really tried to get picked up with the Glendale News Press. We got very little leverage in terms of physical publication, so a lot of this was digital and word of mouth. And so we did a lot of the labor for outreach. It did take a lot of time, and we did spend a little money on the promotion of the meeting as well.
Is it fair to say you spent about 2 months at least?
I would say about a month to 4 to 6 weeks, I'd say.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question and comment,
you can
maybe.
stay a little bit.
Thank you for all the detailed report. I appreciate that. It's
Sure.
very nice to hear from your perspective how things are coming along and what we're accomplishing within the time. First of all, did I hear right, or I need clarification? Barbara is working on the draft.
Correct.
And is that draft going to come to us first?
She will be, we are working on her schedule now, because She will be interfacing with you and with the city before anything is released, of course.
Before going to the public?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Okay. Because I thought you said something that Barbara will present that during the next public. Did I hear it right? Or
Let me clarify.
Yes.
What we want to do is we want to go to the council, city council, with the draft before we come to the commission so we can get their input and share that with you. So the order of the meetings is having a study session with city council the Tuesday before a commission meeting. So, and then I think the advisory is the advisory
board. Right. A lot of this is dominoes, and Cindy is working on scheduling these dates. It'll be, we're looking at the end of January.
And that's so we can bring as much input to you as possible by the time Cars and Barbara comes to report to the
I
commission.
thought that we can input more the first step and then give it to the council.
Well, then
Is
there'll
that
be
the other way around now?
And there'll be another opportunity for you. I mean, this is a draft.
Okay, I know,
This is a
I know.
draft. So, then after the draft is completed, then we'll go back to you.
Sounds good.
Eventually, to council. Council will be the last step.
Okay, my second question is, was there any comment regarding the time frame of this Master Art program? During your presentation, I have not seen anything that is going to last 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, or anything budgeting this. So I'm expecting in the next meeting or so, or it will be part of your presentation or Barbara's presentation in the next meeting or few meetings.
I know the plan that Barbara is drafting. The most important thing is to write a plan that will be enacted. Yeah. And so, again, what Cindy is talking about is to do a study session with council. So not only, we don't want to write a plan and make recommendations for a timeline that are not realistic. There's changes in the city we all know going on, et cetera, but it's really important to leverage the buy-in and write the plan that will have the most legs. So it'll also talk about governance, about the sustainability of the plan, and that'll have to do with the timeline as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, go ahead.
When Barbara was here last time, we were talking about this meeting with the council. Definitely, we need to know what the city as well wants besides what the commission. I know we are the advisory to the council, but nonetheless, my request was: is that possible that we would have the meeting with the commissioners present at the meeting, maybe not discussing issues, but personally to hear and see how the council members who have appointed us, their point of view, and if need be in the future or after the meeting to meet with them, and if need be to give them additional information on such issues. Because to do it separately, we are not a separate entity. We are their nominees. So to know what's the guideline, how they feel about it. One thing that when you take the information and bring it to us is one thing for us personally to be there and to see how our council feels about things would have helped us much more to be on the same page. But I don't know if that is possible or not, but that was my request last time.
Well, from what I understand, the goals for her to meet with the council on a one-on-one is also the how to enact this plan. And it focuses on a lot of other details besides what they would want interfacing with whether it's planning or public works or the developers, or the start to finish, like the nuts and bolts of enacting the plan as well. So I think what she wants to do is really have a study session per se that would not be televised, but so that it would be, knowledge sharing. And of course, she has already interviewed all the representatives as well. She's also interviewed, I believe she's up to over 28 or so city staff members. So we already know a little bit about what their feelings are on the plan, and that will be more refined. But I think that this goal was really a knowledge session so that they have the bandwidth to understand what the plan can and cannot do and how it will be leveraged. And then, of course, I know that you're going to want to connect with that information as well because it's important for you.
Just one point of clarification. The study session will actually be a special meeting with City Council, and it will be published. It will be televised.
It will be, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I want corrections from staff because they're well informed on that. As far as their ideas and the nuts and bolts of how to do it, in my mind, correct me, is that, well, they have what they foresee, but the nuts and bolts usually comes from the staff and the departments and the city staff, because they decide what they want to see or should happen, but the one that carries all the whatever and needs to make it happen is the department. So that's why, to me, it was interesting for us as commissioners to see exactly what they feel without any mediation in the middle or a reporting, because it gives us a better idea, as I said, because that gives a chance for every commissioner to talk to the council member that has appointed him or her, to update them, because there are a lot of issues. They're so busy, they are so well informed, but there are so many things about art and what happens in the world that our job is to help them with that, I think. So I wish we could have had that meeting with the commission, but I don't know if it's doable, it is practical. Those are legalities which I'm not aware, but that would be what I would have wished to see.
Okay, well, either way it goes, I'll just let Barbara know, and I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but that the communication will be extremely key between what she finds out and the content of that meeting to be able to share with you.
And one thing, the idea, even at that last meeting, I said, it doesn't mean that commissioners at that point should discuss with the council member or modify what they say. It's just they would listen carefully, take their notes, and later on meet with the council member and then talk on the details that needs to be done. Because I think that is basically our job, not the other part of it.
Appreciate that. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, if everybody's done, I have a couple of questions and comments. First of all, congratulations. It was a really great event. It was really well organized. 100 or so people. It was like tremendous, I think, for Glendale art event, except for the brand, which draws a lot of people, so that's really well done. And it was very well organized. It was informational in terms of presenting what public art is. Barbara's presentation was really good. And there was a tremendous amount of feedback. There was a lot of really great energy in the room, and many questions. And it was not exhausted. There were still questions. There were still things. People still wanted to speak, at least in my session. We could have gone on for probably quite a time longer. I wanted to ask you, what happened to the wrap-up session? There was going to be a wrap-up session, but that did not happen. And it seems like it was left kind of unfinished meeting.
I couldn't agree with you more. We started a little bit late. We got a little bit, it was well organized. We were grateful to have free coffee from Phil's Coffee, and we had mini kebab cater, and the food was great. And I think a lot of people knew about dinner, and some people didn't know about dinner. But we got back a little late. I know on my tour we were a little late, and Barbara took the responsibility of saying we were not convening at the same time at the end, and some people had to go, so it was dissipating. But I agree with you. There were a lot of people who wanted the wrap-up, and we could have gone on. And that is actually one of the reasons why we want to hold another meeting. And fortunately, we do have the emails for everyone. We are able to answer questions as we go along, but we could have stayed for a lot longer.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
true.
So that leads up to what you just said. So this next meeting, end of January, that was not originally in the scope. So the idea was to have one meeting and then present the plan. So this next meeting, end of January, is going to be presenting kind of a study session with the public, or
it wasn't one meeting and we present the plan. Our scope was to have one large community. We had actually two large community outreach times. One was on June 11th when the community of Glendale and Atwater worked with Ciclovia, and we got a lot of input and kind of launched the campaign. And then we had this big community meeting on October 18th. So we're kind of morphing as we go. Yes, the scope is one thing, but I happen to be a Glendale resident too. We want to be able to provide what the city needs and continue this, even if it's not written in paper in terms of our contract, which is fine. So, and as the timing works out, because the holidays, just as we started the contract a little bit late, and as things have worked out, and we have Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, that's just where we are. So part of this is just the reality of convening not just the commissioners, but the council people, and leveraging the city study sessions. So we want to have everything in the correct order, and that's really why it's working out towards the third week, I believe, of January, if in fact we can cement those meetings.
No, I think that's critical to have another one, because as I said, it's like it seems like it wasn't done. the questions. There were still more questions, and I think it's really important to have that. We appreciate that you guys are stepping up to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll also have more information to share. We're also, continuing to cull the information on the website, et cetera. So, and also as Barbara is actually drafting the plan as we go now, and that's why we're not doing anything at this particular juncture, because she's culling all the information now, and we really want to be able to present with specifics.
And my last comment is just to stress again the sustainability issue, not only being able to implement it, but to sustain it. And,
correct.
And so you should really consider dedicating a budget to creating some way to sustain, not just, for instance, just a quick thing. For instance, we're going to get grants to continue the art fund, the urban art fund, to expand it. So you need to sort of have a process in which to do that. So that process needs to be created. Right? We don't have a process like that. So I think you really should keep that in mind as the long-term sustainability, not only just enabling it now, but having it keep going for the next 20 years.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can just make one comment, I want to just agree with what Harar said, that before the city council sees the draft plan, it's really, really, I think, important for us to see it. That has nothing to do with cars. This is more about how the process is going to go. So just also my opinion. I think it doesn't have to be in a meeting. Perhaps it could be an email. We can just see the draft plan and be able to comment on it.
Yeah, I agree that I really feel strongly, too, that the appropriate step, I think a few people here mentioned that, is for the thing to be handed to City Council, having been reviewed by the commission that advises them. So we should come first, and then, of course, City Council will give us their feedback.
I do understand that the idea is that they want to kind of get the idea, not that it's not a presentation as a final draft, but still the procedure from what we know is that it comes to the commission and then goes to the council for whatever. And then meanwhile, as I added, I would like to see also that we would personally be there to see how they feel so that we would properly advise them. That's our job. We are appointed specifically to help them on the issues of art and culture of City of Glendale, to personally contact our person, the council member, and help them see what we have talked here, because they don't have the time to watch all the programs that we do, and they do not have time to read every details of every conversation. But that way they would know what is the volition of the commission, and then they would make their own decision naturally at the end. But the process is first to us and then to in anything. But a meeting for us to also be present, I repeat, that we would feel and understand what they want, so personally we could advise them.
I mean, if I may just add, but the one thing that we have to remember is if this is going to happen this way, we're going to be slowing down the process as well. So, I mean, I don't think the staff should be emailing in and accepting feedback from individual commissioners that changes the draft. That has to happen in a public meeting. We all have to be here.
That's right.
We're only a commission when 5 of us or 3 of the 5 agree on something. So, that may slow things down. And on the flip side, I kind of recognize your point that being in the same room with council is good, but at the same time, these are temporary seats. And I think part of the plan is, yes, public art projects, but the other big part of the plan is what is the future and the vision of the commission overall. How much say are we going to have in things that happen across the city? And I think that's bigger than us. I think that's just more of a council needs to decide what the commission as a body is going to be, moving forward. So there are pros and cons to us being there or not being there.
I know, but our position is temporary. Council members' position is also temporary. What is steady is the City of Glendale and the city government. So our job, both as council members and commissioners, is to do our best within the given time we have to do things the way it needs to be done. I know that it might slow down the procedure, and specifically for me, that's very important because I'm a short time leash. But the thing is that, nonetheless, this is not a plan just for 2 years. This is too substantial. This is something that lays the foundation of how things, because I've seen the history of Art and Culture Commission, how it was subject to annihilation or how it was formed differently, and now it has got a very steady kind of identity. And for that very reason, hiring an organization that is well reputed to help us, it's a long-term thing, and it's okay that things are, my personal opinion, that it's okay to kind of delay a little bit, but make sure that at the given time, whoever were responsible, the council members or the commission, they have done their job properly. So that's my thing, but that's one point of view.
So all your comments are duly noted, and we will go back to the drawing board. We just started talking about this schedule a day or two ago, and so we will go back to the drawing board and reconsider. Well, we don't have dates yet confirmed, but we will look at the schedule and see, hopefully, that it won't slow anything down to change the order of things, if that's the final decision. And the good news is we were going to do this in December, and we couldn't because of, there were so many council meetings that were canceled because of the holidays. So we have really an extra month to think this all through. So, okay. Like I said, duly noted, and we will get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, next agenda item.
Item 5B, action item at 1, motion approving special meeting to inform the public about commission responsibilities and involvement with the public art master plan process.
Chair Oshigan, commissioners, city staff, following the October 18th pop-up meeting, a number of questions were asked concerning the responsibilities of the commission in relation to the public art master plan and other initiatives. And Chair Oshigan suggests that a special meeting be called to allow the public to ask questions about commission responsibilities and involvement with the public art master plan process. This would be a public meeting and a special meeting. Commission can answer questions, address concerns in order to educate the public, but cannot take a position on any initiatives presented by the public. Commission, however, can move that concerns be agendized and addressed at future meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if I could just expand on that a little bit. So the idea was that we as a commission need to be present in the process, be able to answer questions. In my session at the October 18, 16 meeting, lots of questions about who are you, what are you guys doing, what do you have, what's your purview, for instance. These are all constant questions. And as I said earlier, the questions were not exhausted, and there's a lot of questions in the public's mind as to what our role is and who we are. Those two things, and what our involvement is, as just said, with the public art master plan. So I think a meeting of that sort not only introduces us and our ideas and what we want to do with the city of Glendale, but also keeps the momentum going, right? The signs are going up now, it's great, and then suddenly there's another meeting. People can come, can ask, can get involved, and then 1 month later, there's another meeting, so there's a real process going here. So that's the idea behind it. If we can find the time to schedule it. It's a busy time.
May I?
Please.
I think this brings up a very interesting point, generally. What is our responsibility is not just about as a commissioner of art and culture. Generally, all the commissioners in the city that they work, they have certain responsibilities. It's written in our bylaw, municipal code, A. So therefore, this is a start for us. What are our responsibilities? We can explain that. We can present that in graphics to make it more easy to understand to the public. We can have the city council explain what's our job, not us, because we represent our city councilmen. We are not a separate entity. We are a appointee body that advise the city council. We are not elected officials, so that's where I see things. That's how I see things. The city council can come and explain that the commission, this is their job, this is their responsibility, and we do that. and we present them a list of suggestions or plans or whatever they are, and they approve it. That's one interpretation of how we should go to the public. B, the second part of it is the involvement of the public art master plan. Again, we started last year. We approved the plan. We hired a firm. We are in a process of approving and presentation by the city council. We are only a body. We advise things, and therefore we can educate the public by this process, which I have no problem with, but it's a very general process which all the commissions, they go through, and all the commission, they should work the similar ways, in a way or somehow. But it's a very good way. Maybe the TV station, the GT TV 6 will come prepare something in graphics, how the council members are elected, what are their responsibilities. They appoint these people, those people, they can do this. It's a government working process that they need to be teach, nothing different. And maybe Michael can help us out in this more, and then what we can do, what we cannot do. For example, one of them is the Brown Act. So we cannot have 2-3 people meet at the same spot and talk about the same subject. So there are certain things that we are within the rules and regulations of the city. So that's how I see it. I mean, it's the city council job is to explain what we can and what we cannot do, or our responsibility. That's how I see it.
I do agree with you 100% because even though it's good for the community to know why we are elected, how we are appointed, and all that stuff, but basically there's a structure, as you said, and there is a follow-up based on that. So that is where our identity is not as important to me, because that is a routine process, that's a legal process of how things are working within the commission and the council and the city, the triangle, the tripod of how this works. Because for the public it's good to get to know us and etc., but I do not see any specific kind of difference as far as, because as Commissioner Sakian said, we are temporary, we come and go, and we are chosen at different times for different reasons and etc. But the structure for the community to know to whom to go to, because there was an issue before also that do we want everybody in the community to contact you personally and talk to you, or do you want it to be processed, which it was finalized that it should be processed through the department also. People who are angry about issues or people who are happy about issues, it's unless there's a public meeting at different times that they meet with us. So it is good to have it, but yet I don't find any major necessity in the part, because individually talking to us, I don't know how that would impact them, because there's a structure to our presence.
If I can clarify, it isn't about the governmental structure that I'm talking about. For instance, somebody asked me, what is the urban fund, right? And I answered it, but who, maybe half the room didn't hear me, right? Somebody asked me, why do you guys put those nutcrackers during Christmas time? I was like, hey, we don't do,
It's general information knowledge type.
Yeah, information about not the governmental structure, because even if nobody really is interested in that, I think it's about what we have, what is the urban fund, what are we going to do, what are our programs? Like somebody asked me, who is doing the art, who selects the artists to put work in the Adams Square gas station, right? So these kinds of things that the public really wants to know. That's the idea.
That could be also a TV show. It could be GTV6 could tape all these things, as you know, because it becomes easier when it's some of the questions that we know what community is interested. But I would also encourage community to come to our sessions to watch, because it's reruns. They show it several times a day. That part is not as engaging because yes, there are information there, and it could be also presented by the council on the details of how things are, or the department could give that information. But it's okay. I mean, to me, either way is fine, but to schedule a meeting and go through the whole process, I do not see as much how we can impact them as individuals as if there would be a presentation. Like Barbara explained something about the master plan. It was so wholesome, everything was there. So there are things that we know community might be interested, or they could put up their questions, and each commission meeting we have, we could respond to some of the questions that comes to the staff as far as the informational part of how things are being done, you know. But it is okay to have it, and it's also, to me, it's not as necessary as a thing that the commission would sit and would arrange for a meeting around that. But either way, I'm fine. It's just my personal opinion that to discuss those issues are not as crucial. Information is important, but to have...
I want to go first.
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
Go.
This brings up, in my mind, another question. In the city of Glendale, there are many commissions, and we have Park and Recreation Commission, where they do concert series.
Yeah.
In Verdugo Park, every summer, I think every Wednesday evening. It's a beautiful idea, but technically that's art and culture.
Yes.
So, by definition, it's part of our job. By definition, technically, but the Park and Culture, Park and Recreation, they do it. So there is some type of overlapping the jobs that one commission or other committees they do it. This is a good opportunity that we can sit down all together. Anything with art and culture, the commission is responsible, for example, and we can work together with Park and Recreation or any other department to accomplish that. The sign that we had, the artist, he did a great job. Was it the Park and Recreation department?
No, it was part of your Art Happens Anywhere program, sponsored by the Urban Art Fund and the Commission.
This is something that we need to work within other commissions to identify and then be on the same page, all of us.
It happened all in the parks, so the parks was involved in all the installation.
All of our work is on public parking. Public property.
That's how the parks was involved.
And one other thing also is the Brand Street Association, I guess. They do a beautiful job decorating the Christmas theme or Thanksgiving theme, and people ask us, we're not technically responsible for it. So there's an association that does that, not us, but it's art. Again, it brings up the point of view that there is something going on in the city, but we are not directly involved with it.
That's right. Could I say something about this? 1 second. Last time Commissioner Sharikian was not here, and Barbara was in detail explaining that it is part of her aim to make sure that there would be a cohesive correspondence and planning within the whole city and all the departments and whatever has to do. And that elated me. I was so excited to hear that. So that is something that is not to the public. Actually, it needs to be worked out within the city and the departments and the council and Barbara's group, that they are trying to kind of establish something much more substantial, so that would be taken care of. Otherwise, we can't say, oh, I'm sorry, it was not our idea, it was somebody else's. That's not, to me, that can kind of give the right image till everything is kind of fixed up. I'm really waiting to get the results from our master plan, because it seems we are going to really make a major step in what needs to be done in Glendale.
So, I think this is great. We've talked about it at a number of commission meetings. I think we do need to be much more public about the commission and kind of build awareness about what the commission does, what it doesn't do. But I have concerns if we're talking about doing this in December, because, we have a professional firm that worked very hard on promoting that meeting that got a great turnout. But I've been to plenty of city meetings where, there's 10 residents giving you feedback on an issue, and we have 200,000 residents, and you're trying to weigh that and, in terms of, quality versus quantity. So, I don't think mid-December is enough time to get enough people to this event, to this meeting, to make it effective. So, I'd love to see this be a recurring thing that we do as a series, perhaps next year, perhaps piggybacking on the end of the Public Art Master Plan as a way to continue the momentum from there. But I have concerns if we do it in December, we're going to water down the crowd that's going to come to potentially end of January when we have more substantive, things that we need feedback on. And also, I'd like to see us build on that 100, not get the same 100 back only, but, make that 200. And, to do that, we need time, and we need to, I think, as a commission, focus on our energy on driving people to that public meeting, which is right around the corner. With the holidays, January, mid-January is going to be here before we know it. But with that said, I think this would be a great thing to continue on, after that January meeting, potentially in February or March, where you can, make it like a state of the arts event. We have a state of the city, but kind of an official kind of city arts update kind of meeting where you kind of interlace the commission, but also maybe highlight some different things, highlight the public art master plan. But I'm all for public meetings. I think we need to do a lot more of them. But mid-December competing on holidays, I think is a tough sell. I hate to be the parliamentarian today, but
You're right.
I really want to see this be very successful, and I don't think December is the month that is going to give that to us.
And if we are having a public meeting, sorry.
Okay, so maybe we could do something. ARA has done presentations at the Brand Library before and chaired panel discussions. I'm not trying to make any work for you. I think you don't have enough already. But one thing we could do is, rather than what does the commission do, it could be a presentation by somebody just talking about, some of you have questions about how does it all work, and it doesn't even have to be a commissioner. It can be, Sharon Garrett, when she was here, gave a very nice, concise presentation to the Brand Associates because people were asking questions about the Urban Art Fund, the same types of general questions we had, and she had a nice little turnkey presentation, and we could resurrect that and just simply make it a presentation. And if the commission doesn't want to get involved, I'm sure we could convince the Brand Associates to sponsor it and have it be something in there. ARA, you might be there as the representative of the commission to take questions, but it wouldn't be a commission meeting. It would just be simply an informative presentation about things. If we feel that that's not appropriate because we're about to change everything and completely rearrange the furniture, then I think it's confusing. But if we still have an opportunity to keep people warm after that fabulous meeting in October and do it during the holidays with a little, refreshment and seeing the art show and being at the Brand Library, then I think it's a wash. I don't think it has to be I hear your point, Shant. I think it's a very good one, but I think it could take another form and still be quite informative. But it could be simply, a lecture at the Brand Library. If you're interested, come and hear about these things. I have a neighbor who wanted to do something and she didn't know about Art Happens Anywhere, and now she knows about it, and she, I think, has applied for something. So it's an informational thing, not necessarily a commission meeting masquerading as something else.
Can I say something? I like to combine both ideas. I like if it's in December to do something which is a little bit more festive about the holiday month and etc., and then information here and there. But meanwhile, I would like if it is a presentation as a panel or as a kind of a one person standing up and giving information at the Brand Library, the way it has been done before, if that is done after the master plan. Because then the role, I know that we have a very structured, already written down legal, whatever of what is our job, but it would be clearer on the duties and assignments of the commission, I think, after the master plan. So if we would have one later on, more wholesome with the whole idea of what would be the role and what's happening with the Art and Culture Commission for later. And if it is the volition of the commission to have a meeting with public, also a little bit festive during the month of December, that could be also reconnecting with community on a different level. So that sounds fine. It's just as long as it's not like they're questioning why so-and-so does this and why we don't do that. It's not kind of part of what I think would get any results.
This is probably breaking a bunch of procedural rules, but I would like to ask Tamara what she thinks about this. If you would step up. You heard different ideas. Specifically, is December a bad month, which has been brought up? The momentum is a key thing in the Public Art Master Plan. Do you think such a meeting would benefit the process, or do you think it may distract from it?
I don't know if it's that black and white. I think that you're right on the verge of getting the plan, and I do not know what the plan will say per se, but I think it might be more prudent to do what Shant is saying. Wait until the end of January. This actually will be a special meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, but it will be an ACC meeting. And I think it's really important for, just like last time, you have the face-to-face with the public and you engage with the public. This will be your meeting. So I would wait. That doesn't mean to say that I would not like to see the commissioners present at community events. Perhaps at the open house up at the Brand Library at the holiday season. If you're there and people have questions and they know you're a commissioner and you have a way to connect with them, it doesn't mean that you can't do outreach and say, I can't wait to talk to you about X when we have this plan delivered in the draft plan in January. But I think it might be just a little too sensitive in terms of time. And I think that the point is well taken. December is busy, but I do think I think you're coming from a great place. You want to interface with the public. You want to answer their questions. I think you're going to have a lot more to say at the end of January after you know what's in the plan. That's okay.
Any other comments?
I'd like to add on to what Tamara said, and that's that at the public meeting in January, we could take some time to explain the Commission's role. Not only in the Public Art Master Plan, but just in general in terms of all the programming.
I think that might be a very interesting way to open the meeting. And we didn't really talk about this so much, but I might as well take the opportunity for a second. Just as you were saying, this took a lot of leverage from our staff. We're going to want to work on this January meeting with you. We would love to partner with you. We would like to get at all of your constituents. So we have not just 100 people, but we have more than a few hundred people, and we welcome new people who don't know anything about the plan yet. So it'd be really great as a co-production with all of you, so that this could be your meeting. This could be a really informative time, not only to talk about the plan, but about the role of the arts commissioners, and then you'll know what to say, and we'd be happy to work with you on that as we move towards January. Okay.
I would like to add. It's a great suggestion to have a meeting to explain our responsibilities and duties. We can do that in many ways. Yeah. One of the things is, as we prepared for the master plan, Barbara prepared for 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes of small video, which was very informative, and people looked at it, and then their minds started to work, what to do, what to ask. In our case, we can ask the GT6 TV to prepare a 2-3 minutes responsibility type of thing, maybe ask you a few questions or ask me questions or the staff or Cindy, and we can define what is our job. And that way, the people's mind, and then we can talk about programs, the music concert series and this and that. Then they can have, within 4 minutes, 3 minutes, a good idea what we're doing. Then, after that, during January meeting or after that, we can have maybe longer discussions and talk about it. But meanwhile, until then, we can prepare something like this and talk and present to the public, which there is no restriction on that. There is no wait. We can do that.
At the commission meeting, you mean?
No, not necessarily at the commission meeting. Okay. The TV can prepare something like that, and when they're doing a very good job, art in the city in Glendale, so they can do something about us. Why not?
Yeah, but since GTV6
it's a general information. It's not like we're trying to keep things secret.
I know that. But we are already on GTV6, and we are here, and it could be part of our agenda to somebody here, either the chair or Cindy or Michael, would kind of talk about the process and procedure of how things are being done. Be done. It could be done, and it's already, because we have got that time with GTV6, they don't need to reschedule. So it could be part of the agenda if that could work. At the part of the comments, maybe, it could be presentation.
Okay. Any more comments? Okay, so there's a motion on the table. Does somebody have to actually move to move this forward? And we need a second. So if somebody's really would like to make the motion and then somebody second it, then we can put it to a vote, or else we won't put it to vote.
Don't we need to reword it? Because the way this is a little bit different.
So the
what is
motion
different?
would be
well, this is exactly
wait until January. The motion would change then
Yes.
to wait till
Well, there's no
January.
date, so the motion is to have this thing.
Which we're having.
But, so the date is not set, and so and I think the staff would have to look into what would be the best date, maybe, and then do we talk about the date or not, or do we let it?
I'd like to make a motion if I can. So
Yes.
I'd move to bring back this item at our January commission meeting, so then I think we'll be in a better position to have a full discussion. Because our January commission meeting will be after the public art meeting, I believe. Right before.
It'll be right before, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be right before. Because that'll be 22nd. Our meeting in January is going to be...
While you're looking up the date,
18th.
the
We have
motion
on the
could be to include the information about the commission responsibilities at the January meeting in collaboration with CARS, and then have a future discussion, maybe not in January, but in February, about continued communication about the role of the Arts and Culture Commission. And that also goes along with what I think we talked about 2 months ago, was we did put aside the idea that we would spend some money on branding the commission, and it falls very nicely into that in terms of the video and whatever else we do about informing the public about not only the master plan, but everything else that you do.
Excellent idea.
Okay, that's a good motion.
Thank you, Cindy.
As usual, so,
It's a matter of the when.
no, it's nicely said.
Yeah, it's
Cindy,
a matter
could
of
you repeat
when.
that so we would-
And the motion is to kind of restructure the January 22nd. Is that the date you have? The 25th.
Yeah, we don't have it confirmed, but we're hoping
Right.
the last week in January, so that there would be some emphasis on the commission's role at the January meeting in collaboration with CARS and the Public Art Master Plan, and then have continued discussion about further communication and marketing, so to speak, about the commission and what your role is. I would say the February meeting.
So can we take that as a motion and
Is that a
second it?
motion?
I'll move that. So I'll move to include a presentation at our public meeting in January on the role of the commission, and to bring back a discussion on future public meetings at the February commission meeting.
Second.
Yes.
I second it.
You're thirding then.
No, okay. Did I third? Oh. She seconded it.
So we'll all
Sorry, I
second
didn't.
it.
Commissioners Jerhovannessian,
Yes.
Sahakian,
Yes.
Sharikian,
Yes.
Vidor.
Yes.
Chairperson Oshigan.
Abstain.
Item 6, Commission staff comments.
Any comments?
I do have a comment.
Yes, Commissioner Vidor. That was very formal, yeah.
You guys are getting tired of me already. I can tell. All right. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Caffin Coffee Company in Adams Square and the John Muir School for creating a really beautiful exhibition, which was on view at the Caffin Coffee House recently. It was an art auction organized by Deborah Hurtado, who is a parent, as well as Mary Lou Escobar, who's a Muir teacher. And there were several parent artists who also helped the students, including Lorenzo Hurtado Segovia, Karen Eshed, and Jeanette Garcia. And they are planning to have a follow-up in January in the Adams Square Mini Park to continue auctioning off their artwork. And it was a really beautiful show and very inspiring to see that in a coffee house. So thank you very much, John Muir School.
And I'll just thank Commissioner Vidor for highlighting that. And if you guys haven't seen it, the students' work's phenomenal. Really talented students.
Nice job.
Any other comments?
I have a question regarding the next meeting, December 21st. I guess we received a few emails regarding changing the date, or are we still
That was when we thought that we were going to bring the draft plan to you.
Okay, so
it's
this is the
standing
final
at-
date.
Yeah.
Okay.
21st is the date.
Please, of course.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we had a remarkable amount of sales at the Brand Works on Paper show this year, $15,000, I think, somewhere between $13,000 and $15,000 worth of artwork in over 10 pieces, which is really unusual. And one of the things that was most remarkable about that is that some of them were in a much higher price point than we've seen in the past. I think there was one piece that went for $3,000 or $3,500, which is, you know, we just don't get that. And it's really exciting. Kudos to Deb Thompson and our juror, as well as Shannon Curry Holmes, who's just wonderful, and of course Kaylee, the new manager, who we're all very excited about, for, you know, ramping it up a notch at the Brand Library. So art's selling. It's a good thing.
Great news.
Yeah.
I have a comment, just nothing related maybe specifically to Art and Culture Commission and to where we go and whatever we do in the community, but it is to thank Scott Ochoa, who's leaving us. He was a fantastic city manager. I have never seen people praising a leader the way they have done about Scott. They said he was a great boss while he was a great friend. He could be both a leader, a boss who organizes things, manages things, leads the staff and community while being friendly and loving, and some of them, they said he's like a brother they never had. It is admirable to hear about a person who has accomplished so much and who has also been such a good friend to the community. He is so low-key, he is so humble, he accepts everybody in the community. We have done a great job by having him with us, and we wish him all the best, and we hope that somebody who is going to get in his shoes would be as good as he is. So farewell, Mr. Scott Ochoa. You're fantastic. Thank you.
Anything else? Nope. Then we are adjourned.
Sure. Thank you.